New Year's resolutions are designed to fail. What we are going to dive into today is a new strategy that you can do that's actually going to work and set you up for the new year.
To that end, we want you to start this new year with an evolved mindset, because ultimately an evolved mindset on how we view the year will set you up for the next decade of success.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year. It is Bianca.
Happy New Year. It's Emilia. Welcome back, Evolvers. Happy 2026 and welcome to all the newbies that are joining us today. It is 2026 by the time you are listening to this, and we couldn't be more grateful for you to be on this growth journey with us. And yes, it is a growth journey. So January 1st, 'tis the season. Not necessarily to be jolly, but for all of us to freak out about New Year's resolutions. Let's be real. This is that time where that's all everyone is talking about. Your feeds are full of all these opportunities and solutions on what you can do. And there's this hook that we all, unless we're very consciously thinking about this well before the new year, we get sucked into what's called fresh start theory. And the fresh start theory, I know many evolvers actually who adore this. You know, it's just that feeling when it's a new day or when it's a new week, right? Cue the Mondays, or it is a new year. There's just that, it's like that vibe where you know you're not alone, kind of restarting, resetting, refreshing. And fresh start theory is something that is very sneaky. And to what Bianca said at the very beginning of this episode, it can set us up for failure if we're not very mindful about the hook, if you will, the being sold the narrative of this fresh start is a fresh start and you don't really have to do anything for a sustained amount of time for it to quote unquote work. So we're not going to set you up for failure in this episode. What instead we want to do is really set you up for, like I had said in the opening, the next decade. And while most people joining this episode are like, yeah, okay, Emilia, set up for the next decade, it's really all about a mindset. And I know some of us might roll our eyes at that, but at the end of the day, the people who actually stick with their goals, who consistently reevaluate where they're at, and who ultimately venture far beyond what they ever believed was possible, are those that look at this new year, those that look at this quote unquote resolution, those that look at what is ahead of them from a very different standpoint. And so we want to share what that looks like. We want to share some activities that you can do should you listen to this episode and start to shift into that mindset, shift into an evolver's mindset so that you can set up the next decade for success. Because let's be real, we're not here for quick fixes. We're not here for quick dopamine hits. We're here to actually make meaningful change in our life. And if you're an evolver and if that sounds like something that you want to do, stick around with us. We have activities for you. We have things that you can even do with friends should you want to. And let's say, for example, you're listening to this a couple days late and you're like, maybe it's February and you're picking up this episode. That's okay too. You can apply this no matter what time of the year it is. And that's what makes it timeless. So, Bianca, one of the things that I don't know if I shared this with you, and I want to share this to get us started. And I'm kind of nervous to share. And that means I have to. Do you remember way back when I used to do what I refer to as a purge?
The purge. Yes, I remember.
Okay. So for anyone that's new or anyone that's joining us that hasn't been listening since Bianca and I first started this dang thing in 2020. Shout out to all my COVID babies out there. In other words, when that changed your life.
Wow.
I had essentially, you know, and I know we're not talking about the Purge movies that are like scary horror films. I didn't do any of that.
Go on a splurge spree of yeah. So murder your goals. No, I'm totally kidding.
But I want to share that because I know that it really did help me sink into the mindset. And the more that I shared about the purge with other people, it helped them to kind of sink into a different mindset too. That connects to the one that we're talking about. So for anyone that hadn't heard about this, every single year I found myself, and this was honestly for quite some time, well before I met you, Bianca, every single year around the kind of November, September timeframe, pointing towards the end of the year, right? End of Q4 or the starting of Q4 to the rest of the year. What I really started to do year over year was this kind of cleansing ritual. And what I called it for years on, looking back, a purge. And essentially what the essence of it, the mindset that was underneath it was, let's get ahead of these New Year's resolutions and let's actually ritualize, have this sacred practice of really reassessing and orienting myself of where I have come over the last 6 months, 9 months at that time. And what has changed? What has evolved? What has grown? What is still with me? What feels stuck? And what do I feel like I need to let go of so that by the time the New Year's does roll around, I'm not having to all of a sudden perk up and freak out and kind of pull together my goals and what feels aligned for me. So what I would do, and this was really hard for a lot of my associations and friends and people at the time, but what that would look like would be a very ritualized going within time frame. And I'm talking like at certain points in my life, I would try to go a month or two without talking to anyone. So I would pretty much, and at one point I had like shared this kind of postcard of like, I hope you guys have a great end of the year. I'm about to go into my purge. Please don't take it personal if I don't respond to any of your messages or if I'm not picking up phone calls. Like, I love you. I care about you. And on the other side of that, I will come out a very new, evolved person. And ultimately, it was kind of a way for me to just let people know that this was happening and to not personalize it.
I think I still have it.
Do you? I bet you do.
I might. Hold on. If I find it, I'm gonna read it.
Now, from this standpoint, if you find it, let me know. But from this standpoint, I realize how difficult that was for people because that was very abnormal. And I'm not necessarily recommending, if you're listening to this, that type of activity, because let me tell you, most people will take that very horribly, and you kind of realize who feels entitled to your time very quickly and to your communication really quickly. So I called it my purge. Whether you want to call it something or not, take it to your own quote unquote world, do it what you have, right? For me, I realized sharing it with other people, they kind of took their own version of that. So cleansing themselves of, let's say, for example, anything that they were holding on to. I had some friends say like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. I want to do that too. And ended up like writing notes to them themselves and then burning those and doing like a burning ritual. It started to kind of take win with other people. And some other people got really upset about it and like was like, I don't like, if you're just going to quote unquote cut me off, then I don't want to be I don't want to be your friend. It's like, that's totally okay. That's totally okay. So it kind of brought this mindset of I know what I need towards the end of the year. And as a result of what I need, I'm going to try to honor that in my rituals as my year starts to come to a close. And when we look at the biological rhythms that we all have around the seasons, I was doing some research recently about the Gregorian calendar as opposed to the lunar calendar. So for anyone who doesn't know the differences between that, the Gregorian calendar essentially follows 12 months, and the days of months kind of range based on whether it's 28 or 31. And I want to say it was like 1587, we as a society kind of switched from the lunar calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And the lunar calendar follows very much more the rhythm of nature and our biological systems and has an average month of 29.5 days. And so why I mention that is because the way in which we experience time, one is through biological, the other one is kind of quote unquote forced mental. And so as we all shift into this kind of seasonal shift, the winter solstice, the autumn solstice, like all these different moments in our biological and nature-based rhythms, we are also kind of challenged on the Gregorian front of, well, it's end of Q4, New Year's is about to be here. So let's all of a sudden make all of these changes. And that can feel really taxing on the nervous system. So from a brain health standpoint, all of what quote unquote the purge was, when I think about it in retrospect, having now the education and the neuroscience and the understanding of evolutionary biology and just the circadian rhythm that we have now, that was essentially my way to meet my nervous system needs on a very biological rhythm. So I share that to get us started with what is the mindset that we have now about New Year's resolutions. Most of us, like I said, are in that fresh start theory where it's more Gregorian. The calendar and the day dictates our quote unquote rhythms of behaviors. And that can feel
AKA,
really out of sync with our biology.
I'm going to start on Monday. I'm going to start on the first day of the month. Oh, well, this has to wait until this period of time rather than I can start whenever, wherever, however.
Yeah. And think about it, like Bianca, just think about your experiences and what we've heard from people within this community. What I do notice about the New Year's resolution, while in theory, quote unquote, that is supposed to quote unquote be helpful for us, I find it having a sync to this concept of time, the Gregorian calendar, that is out of sync with our natural biological rhythms. And one of the reasons why it fails is because of that. And we then personalize our own failure. Let's say we set a goal on New Year's to like lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks or whatever. Like we don't realize, and when we set that, it's very mind heavy and not whole body holistic heavy. And you're not really asking yourself, how is this in alignment or in sync with my biological rhythms that are already happening in the background, right? My hormones are making a lot of the behaviors that I have or the routines or the habits that I have possible. And yet we didn't consult with them when we quote unquote sat down to set those goals. So I think it's really interesting. Bianca, what have you heard from this kind of fresh start theory on time-based, regimented, kind of more of that like solar type approach to goal setting, New Year's resolutions, and the failure to like more of that lunar cycle, more of that biological rhythm, syncing with your natural biology and trying to act more in alignment with who you are? What have you noticed between the people kind of that are on different ends of that spectrum?
To be very frank, most of the people that I've seen trying to follow the quote unquote lunar calendar are not goal-oriented people at all. It's very much like spiritual, hippie, woo-woo types of people who over-rely on spirituality to bypass inner work and to not have to set and achieve real, meaningful goals. And then on the opposite end, people who over-rely on the fresh start theory are also using that to bypass inner work and setting and achieving real goals. So I've never met, I very rarely meet, I want to make sure that I clarify that it's not never, but I very have rarely met people who on their own accord are doing what they can in the here and now to start and to try to implement change and to focus more on inputs and identity than the goal. Because you and I as clinicians and practitioners, we see this all the time. People get fixated on the goal. It's like, I need to lose 10 pounds. I need to do X. I need to be Y. And then we talked about this in actually the last episode. So 465, you had referenced something about the becoming board versus the vision board, which I thought was so fascinating and so powerful. So thank you for bringing that forward. You had said most people focus on a vision board. Most people are like, here's the car that I want, the house that I want, the husband or wife that I want, the dog that I want, the job that I want, blah, 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 blah. But nobody's like, okay, but like, what are like the actions that I'm going to have to take in order to become the kind of person who is then capable of having those things? Well, the way what we have seen as clinicians is that very few people are doing that when it comes to New Year's resolutions as well, or just in their life in general. We're fixated on outcomes at the detriment of what it takes to get those outcomes. And that's why people rely on AI. It's why people rely on Facetune or filters or plastic surgery or whatever the case may be, because we're more optimized and fixated on the result and anything to get the result by any means necessary, no matter what, even if it's lying, cheating, and stealing or pretending,
Right.
rather than what are the things that I can do and start today to be the type of person who does these things, because that's going to make me into who I want, get what I want, have what I want, so on and so forth.
And the mindset that I see on that too is because we're so focused, like there's so many people focused on that. It's so consumeristic thinking. Like, how can I consume instead of like, who can I become? What can I give? How can I serve? Right. And I recognize that that's a big shift, right? When we just think about what that requires in a mindset in and of itself. But at the end of the day, I love that you focused on the two spectrums. The individuals that you've met that are on the lunar side are over relying on the spirituality at the expense maybe of some of those hard rules, quote unquote, of goal setting and outcomes. And then other people who will outsource their New Year's resolutions just simply on that, and not both of them not necessarily sinking into what is the merging of kind of both of those, which is what we're offering in this episode, is merging both of those actually, and trying to find a way, not necessarily find because it's right in front of us, subscribe and stand forward or step into this version where we kind of have the best of both worlds. And we're able to meet that inner work. And I find, like, even if we just think about the word resolution, what are we resolving? No one really thinks about, what am I resolving when I set a New Year's resolution, right? Just think about it, right? Whoever is listening to this, think about something that might have came up if we were to ask you, okay, go ahead and set a New Year's resolution. Answer the question, what is it that quote unquote setting, or what that gets you or earns you? What is that resolving? So like, for example, again, the 10 weeks and 10 pounds, if you want to do that, is it resolving the food noise that you have? Is it resolving the addiction that you have to food? Is it resolving the trauma that you've experienced, hence why you cope with food and have so much food noise? Is it resolving this internal conflict where you're at war with yourself and your own body image? What is it resolving? Most of us don't even think about that. Again, today's episode is about getting off the autopilot, getting off the bandwagon. And if you want to leverage the energy that is underneath, quote unquote, this fresh start theory, let's step into and let's shift into more of a mindset of something that allows you to step into what I'm going to refer to as more orientation. I think that January is a really great time for orienting yourself where you actually are. Right now, I just so happen, when I mentioned the purge, I just so happen to do that more around September because I find that really helps me. But granted, I do want to share, like, I've been a goal setter and achiever for my whole life, as long as I can remember, right? Kind of on that hard and Gregorian calendar. I also want to mention, I also have been and am very spiritual by nature, very much synced up to the lunar cycle, very much aware of the quote unquote woo, and very much that's a part of who I am. So I've blended that merging of the both worlds. And what I find is that we're not orienting where we are before we try to set things out in the future. So for example, if you're setting this quote unquote 10 week and 10 pound challenge or whatever it is, relationships, boundaries, I want to become the type of mom that never yells at my kid, like whatever that is, what is your orienting ritual to get at least a baseline of where you're at now so that you can honor the practice that is measuring and tracking your progress? Because so many of us, I know, move away from, it's really fun and really easy to put a vision board out there, right? To what your point, Bianca. It's great to have the vision board, to have dreams. Like, I love that. I'm such a proponent and advocate for dream big, dream boldly, But do not forget who has to build that dream. That is you. It does not just come to you, right? You also have to go get and go earn and go become something. Hence why the becoming board is so powerful from a brain health standpoint and for who you're reaching to become. And that's why when you mention that, Bianca, it's like, how many of us actually want the process? How many of us actually want, in addition to the nice car, want the financial responsibility or the financial discipline that impulse control requires in order to be someone who could afford something like that, right? Very few of us are thinking about the process and who you're becoming along the way. And that's why becoming boards are so powerful as opposed to vision boards.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt. I am the Director of Marketing and Communications at a radio station here in Central Massachusetts. I can say it's been nothing but great. Kind of diving into myself and realizing that I need to step out of my comfort zone and build that confidence in my insecurities, but also maintaining who I am as a person. You know, this is a community that's not forcing anything upon you, that wants you to feel nothing but welcome. And it's just super genuine and super honest too, which I like. And again, just recognizing that you are your own person on your own journey, but everybody in the community is here with you. And, you know, we're all at different stages in life, and that's a very important thing to recognize. So Emilia, Bianca, and Derek especially have helped me get to the point where I'm able to kind of excel in my career and in my personal life.
Most people are just trying to run away from the negative feeling that they have associated with the change that they're trying to make. So I want to lose 10 pounds. Why? Because I hate my body. I want a nicer car. Why? Because I think it's going to make me feel better, and I don't like how I feel driving this car, and I believe that having this newer one is going to make me feel something different. Yeah. It's not rooted in grounded true self identity and change. It's grounded in shame. It's grounded in pain. It's grounded in consumption more than anything. That's why most people can't stick to a New Year's resolution. You're focused on achieving an outcome that you haven't been able to achieve in the past, and you think that now because the date is different and the year is different, you're somehow going to now be the kind of person that can do that. It's like, if you couldn't do it yesterday, why are you going to be able to do it today now that it's January 1st? And that's not to be attacking.
That's what's so fascinating about that. Yeah, because it's all a mindset shift at the end of the day.
It's 100% a mindset shift. Nothing about your identity changed. Nothing about your capabilities changed. So why do you believe that you're now all of a sudden going to be able to achieve this goal? And again, that's not to be cruel. It's to help you get more empowered. To stop setting unwinnable games for yourself. That's so unfair. Why are you going to, it's so unkind. Why are you going to put yourself into a position to fail and then feel terrible about yourself and then gain more weight or spend more money or end up in a worse off situation rather than helping your parts to chill out using IFS language? Help your parts chill out for a second, get grounded and understand, okay, what is actually guiding this decision making? What am I actually feeling that's making me want this goal? Okay, there's a lot of negative feelings associated with this because there's a lot of negative self-image associated with this. Okay, what is a self-image that would be more empowering for you? And what are the steps that you can start to take today to help you take one small belief step toward that? And if you do that over a period of time, you'll get whatever goal you want. We're not saying don't set goals. We're saying don't set goals based on a made up timeline that's unwinnable based on your current circumstances. That's like me saying, okay, so the day we're recording this, it's Christmas Day. So it's December 25th. That's like saying, all right, I haven't run in years because I have a back injury and I've been healing a back injury. But you know what? It's January 1st. I'm going to run a marathon. So January 1st, I'm going to go hop on a track and run a marathon. Good luck. I'm going to break my back again. Why? You guys hear that example and it's like, why the hell would you do that? That's dumb.
Right.
But that's what so many people are doing. It's like, okay, January 1st, no carbs, no sugar, no soda, no TV, no phone, bed by this. It's like, good luck with that. It's not going to work.
Ugh.
But instead, what if you said, okay, this year, I actually want to do it different. So I'm going to take some time. I'm going to journal out. I'm going to reflect on what this year has had, what has been in store, what I've done, what I haven't done. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick maybe 3 behaviors that I'm going to start implementing. 3 behaviors that I can start to do that I actually have a relatively high sense of belief that I can get done. And then I'm going to do that for a consistent period of time, maybe like, let's say a month. And if I can do that consistently for a month, then I'm going to increase it a little bit. I'm going to test myself. Let's run the scientific method. I'm going to run a test. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. Something got in the way. What got in the way? Okay, this, and this got in the way. Okay, cool. Now let's reassess. Let's try again. That is how the most successful people in the world set and achieve goals. They're not just throwing an idea at the wall based on feeling bad about themselves and then being like, I need to be able to do that. Nobody would succeed if that was the case. That's why nobody has succeeded. Yeah. But there is hope. There are things that you can do. That's how Emilia became who she is. That's how she helped me learn how to do it. And now I'm becoming who I'm becoming. That's how every successful person has achieved things that deeply matter to them. It's process, not outcome. Focus more on the inputs and be intelligent about the outputs, meaning the outcome and the goal.
Yeah.
Make it realistic. Play a winning game. You don't get brownie points for setting unrealistic expectations and then falling off.
No. As a matter of fact, the shame that comes to people afterwards, and over time, here's the thing, like after you fall off those quote unquote resolutions, what people don't realize is happening in their unconscious is these little seeds of limiting beliefs get planted. And then the rest of the year, they're nurtured. And then that just happens again and again and again. And people don't realize what's happening in their unconscious brain. And one of the things that you mentioned, that false consensus effect, where people will say, yeah, that happens to other people, but that doesn't apply to me. I can set New Year's resolutions. I can do this and I won't have those same results. Like that is what like sheer cognitive distortion. And then you add in the confirmation bias of like, see, I got on the treadmill and I ran 2 miles. I can do this. It's like, whoa, wait a second. Did you do that process of orientation that Bianca and I are really referring to? One of the things that is so freaking important is recognizing how much humility needs to go into change. I know that most people are not humble enough when it comes to change and the process that is really required for change to occur. Now, I could go into a whole diatribe on that, but ultimately I promised our listeners that at the end of the day, you're going to start to shift your mindset from this episode. And that is our hope. That is why we ever spend any time on this mic today. Because the mindset helps to shift the way in which the neuroplasticity, meaning the different way the myelin and sheath is working in your brain, so that you can become a new person, develop new capabilities, have more empowering beliefs rather than limiting beliefs, alchemize the shame, automatic negative thoughts that come out of what is typically a New Year's resolution, and instead shift into someone who has an empowered mindset, who has empowering beliefs, who has empowering core identities, which then has empowering capabilities to be able to reach goals after a process of orienting where you're currently at and the process of evaluating why you might want something. And so that, for anyone that wants it, this is an annual review PDF packet that I do every single year, and it evolves with me. But I want to share that in the show notes for anyone that might want that, because a lot of the activities that Bianca and I talked about here are in that PDF. And what I found it to do for me, at least, and I'll speak from my experience, is have a guide, essentially, the way in which it's designed, so that you can work through this process. If you're new to that quote unquote orientation, if you're new to this mindset of what do I do today to set up my next decade, when it comes to this mindset around really establishing not resolutions or resolving things, but the process of becoming and what that system looks like. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes. Please click that to download it, or send me a DM, annual review PDF, and I will send that to you. But at the end of the day, if you're going to do nothing from this episode, I encourage each and every single one of you to choose the word of the year. So last year, well before 2025 rolled around, I had in my consciousness and in my heart what my year word was going to be, or word of the year. And the word of the year was essentially what oriented everything that I did. And from there helped me to engage this process. So that will be in this packet. And Bianca, I know that we had done that as a team, and we all had a word of the year. Do you recall what yours was?
I'm hardcore blanking right now.
That's okay.
What mine was.
Okay.
I was just thinking about it. I was like, what was my word?
Right, exactly. It's so easy to forget where we start. But the key here is do something a little bit differently that shifts you into a mindset. And the word for the year is one easy way that's not like high effort to help you orient yourself around this process that Bianca and I talked about. And so whether you want to print it out and paste it somewhere, or whether you want to write it on your mirror that you see every single day, in the bathroom, I encourage you to at least have a word for the year, because that's going to help you orient, again, this process that we talked about, and not just have you go into a resolution. It's going to have you steering clear of the fresh start theory and the trap that is.
Do we want to lead by example? Do you have yours for the next year?
I do. Yeah. I've had that in my heart for quite some time now.
Are you aligned to sharing it? You don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. So my word of the year for 2026 is called signal. SIGNAL. So last year it was luminance. So in 2025, the word of the year for me was luminance. And what that meant, the meaning that I chose was as a byproduct of the orientation and reflection that I had from the last year. And so in that reflection, I essentially came to the conclusion in my own inner work that I had allowed my protector parts to dim my light. My protector parts didn't let me show up, quote unquote, on the mic, in coaching calls, in meetings as my full self. And so the word of the year for me, luminance, was that orientation to stepping more into that empowered version of myself and really letting those protector parts kind of give it a chill pill. So the word of the year for this year is reflecting upon how well I did in the behaviors, the identity, the capabilities that I underwent throughout this entire year. And from that process that I've undergone, had birthed the word signal. So what that means to me this year is, yes, shine bright, but make sure that the signal, every single episode, every single coaching call that you have, make sure that you're speaking that truth that resonates very deeply with anyone that you're speaking with, because 2026, I know, is going to be a year of so much noise in this world, right? And don't just push, right? It's so easy to push out content and to go on the quote unquote bandwagon of the AI bullshit that's everyone's seeing on their feed nowadays. And I care so deeply about not contributing to that noise and instead being the change that I wish to see in the world. So signal is my word of the year. What's yours, Bianca, if you have it and if you care to share?
I remembered my one for 2025. It was social courage.
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I chose social courage because the social world has been a challenge of mine for many, many years due to the limiting beliefs that I had about myself and how My upbringing and my childhood influenced that. And so 2025, the goal was really learn how to be all of me out in the social world and learn how to navigate those negative limiting beliefs that come up as a byproduct of that. And I learned so much in 2025. This was the biggest year of growth I've ever had. And it illuminated so much for me. And one of the things that it really highlighted for me was the fact that I unconsciously, consciously, and subconsciously have relied very heavily on other people to help me and to make decisions for me and to really guide me. And so because of that, I never really learned how to like set and achieve goals on my own accord, how to be my own like autonomous person and trust in myself that I can do that. So I have a high degree of belief that I can like execute on tasks, but I don't have a high degree of belief yet that without the guidance and help of another person that I can, and my coaches and mentors, not just random people, like my coaches and mentors, that I can know the right goal to set, develop the right systems in place, and then know that I'm doing the right thing. So my word for the year is systems thinking. Beautiful. And the scientific method underneath that. I want to be the best that I can be this year at being a systems thinker and learning how to think more intelligently and strategically. So I'm very, very excited for that. I just wrote it down on my Remarkable. I'm going to put it up somewhere so I remember it. And
great.
I think this is going to be, I'm certain 2026 is going to be the best year of my life so far. So I'm very excited about that.
Woof. I'm so excited for that. So thank you for sharing. And man, social courage, you've had quite some of that in 2025. I can attest to that for sure.
2025 was a trip.
It's been wild. It's been wild. So if you are wanting to become a part of the Evolve community, and really, I put up this post recently, raise the floor, like raise your freaking standards, raise the signal, raise your systems thinking, raise whatever it is that you want to become. Get around the people who are already doing that. We have so many opportunities to become a part of this community, to be an integral part, to be one of those quiet parts of the community, or a very involved part of this community. And one of the ways in which we do that and encourage everyone to get more involved is through Movie Club. So as of right now, we have this coming Monday, when you hear this episode come out on Thursday, this coming Monday, January 5th, will be Movie Club. Evolve Movie Club is one of our favorite things that we do now. And we have just finalized that vote, and it appears that Avatar 3, Fire and Ash will be the Movie Club monthly theme. So if you want to join us in that, we would love to have you. Go to the theaters, watch that. I don't think it's streaming right now, but it's definitely 12 out of 10 worth it. Go see that film. Join us in Movie Club. It is about getting around growth-oriented people who really care about the stuff that we're talking about here, and don't just care, but actually practice this on a day-to-day. So please join us in that. And in closing, my episode suggestion is 463 Evolve Habits That Will Change Your Life Forever. Bianca?
Mine is 465. So actually the episode before this one, How Good Are You Really at Making Better Decisions?
Great. Great. All right, we are here with you. Let's crush this year and not get crushed by it. As always, thank you so much for your interest in the science of holistic mental health, and keep evolving, everyone.
Bye, everybody.